Bun găsit, dragii mei! Sunt Bianca Buca și de această dată vă invit la o ediție specială. Suntem în mijlocul naturii. Despre natură ce v-aș putea spune, în afară de faptul că toți ar trebui să o iubim și să o protejăm, aș putea să spun că ar trebui să fie un loc special pentru fiecare dintre dumneavoastră. Să fie locul în care vă încărcați în fiecare zi cu energie. Să fie locul în care poate veniți pentru relaxare, pentru a comunica cu ceilalți, pentru a veni cu un grup de prieteni, dar și poate cel mai frumos lucru pe care România îl deține. Iar aceste aspecte le-a descoperit nimeni altul decât invitatul meu. Este vorba despre Charlie Ottley, care este cunoscut în România și în întreaga lume pentru minunatele filme realizate, filme documentar, realizate împreună cu prințul Charles, dar nu numai, despre România, despre țara noastră. Welcome to our TV show, Charlie.
Mulțumesc.
So I talked about you to our people to say who is Charlie Ottley, but I ask you again, who is Charlie here in Romania?
I suppose people would call me an environmentalist. I'm a TV presenter. I've been working for the Travel Channel for 12 years. I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, investigative and travel journalism, and I suppose a poet as well. So I do many things. But a lot of these things inspire me when I come here, you know, and there's a lot to write about, there's a lot to see, and it's a beautiful country. And I've fallen in love with Romania, and I think there's an awful lot about Romania that needs to be set as an example to the world, because you've got so many beautiful things here, and people should come and appreciate that, because Romania gets an unnecessarily hard time, particularly in the UK where I'm from, because a lot of people in Britain don't even know the difference between Roma and Romanian.
Exactly.
So there's the first problem.
Bucharest,
right? Yeah. And then they just think about Dracula when they hear about Transylvania.
Exactly.
In fact, they're very ignorant by and large about Romanian people, and they don't realize the rich culture that you have here, and you know, the fantastic beauty of the landscape and the countryside. So I've been trying very hard to correct that misconception.
When you came for the first time in Romania?
I came here in 2011. I was funded by a charity who wanted to show the world how beautiful the forests are, to preserve them in perpetuity for the good of the people here. And I made Wild Carpathia 1, and Prince Charles feels very similar to the way I do about this, so he very kindly agreed to be in the programme. And as a result of this, it got shown all over the world. And Prince Charles actually said that he could trace his lineage back to Vlad the Impaler, and added that therefore he has a stake in the country, which is the first time I've ever heard him crack a joke, and it was brilliant. I'm sure he cracks many jokes, but not on camera, like he did with me. And I was like, gosh, thank you so much, sir, because that got picked up by all the newspapers and all the magazines and TV stations around the world, and it meant that lots and lots of people got to see Wild Carpathia, and I'm hugely grateful for all the help he's given us. But it's actually really helped us put Romania on the map, which was brilliant.
One of my questions it is about this, about newspaper, about TV shows. What did you know before come here about Romania? I
knew a little bit about Romania because I'm interested in the environment. I knew that Romania still had probably the last great wilderness left in Europe. I used to go to Scotland as a child. Scotland has lost it. I've said this before, but it's very important that 2/3 of the Scottish Highlands was covered in forest, mixed forest, like you have here. Oak and beech and pine, and this tremendous ecosystem and biodiversity. There were bears, there were wolves, there were lynx. We shot all our wolves. We stamped out all the bears and the lynx. We cut down all the forests, their natural habitat. So then the forest couldn't regrow, because there were too many herbivores, and they ate all the small trees that were trying to grow, and so the forest could never come back. And then because the trees had been cut, the topsoil was washed away by the rains into the rivers, and so there was very thin soil. So trees that did grow could only grow very, very slowly and didn't stand much of a chance. So now when you see Scotland, it's just empty. It's what an environmentalist would call a soggy desert. It's covered in beautiful moors and hills and fells, but there's no forest. The only forest they have there now is plantations of non-indigenous species of pine, planted so closely together as a monoculture that no animals can live there, no biodiversity can survive. The ground is barren because there's so many pine needles, not even grass can grow underneath. So it's hopeless.
How do you decide to make this documentary? And I know that you get some help from our authorities to make this, and if you think that it was necessary to do this documentary to know people about Romania, about the beautiful nature that we are having here.
Well, the first documentary was really for the world to see. I wanted to show everyone else about Romania, as well as show the Romanian people what they have on their doorstep, of course. The second and the third documentary was as much for the people in the country as it was for the people outside the country. And I wanted to cover all the other areas and aspects. There's a lot of things here that are worth mentioning. I mean, the medieval villages, the beauty of the wilderness, the biodiversity, the fact that, you know, you have 40% or more of the European population of brown bears left here in the Carpathians. And so I really felt that these are things that matter enormously, and so the second and the third program, because of the success of the first, was funded by the Romanian government, who very kindly agreed to give us money. But I did say, well, okay, fine, but I need to maintain my editorial independence, because I'm not making a PR film exclusively just to say, oh, everything's wonderful, because we've been lied to enough. We've had too many people telling us everything is wonderful, and it's not totally wonderful. It's a beautiful place, but there's a lot of things here that are of concern, and the forest being lost at 3 hectares an hour is for me an environmental crisis unparalleled in the rest of Europe, because it's the only place left like this. And if you look at Yellowstone Park, for example, and this is again something I've said and I'm trying to fight to create with a group of philanthropists who are donating, not investing. And this is a very important point, because I know people go, oh yeah, well, they're probably going to be taking wood out because they're buying forests, so they're probably doing it for personal gain. This is what people are used to here, but this is not the case with the organizations I'm working with. We are trying to create a big national park to protect, to put rangers in, and then to eventually give to the country for perpetuity for people to have. Because Yellowstone Park, when they reintroduced wolves 10 years ago, and I went to see the effects of wolf reintroduction last winter in Yellowstone with the guy Doug Smith, who was responsible, and already he said that for the local people in and around the area, their income is just from wolf reintroduction, $50 million extra for the people in the area because of the reintroduction of wolves. Now, if you include all the other things like the forest, the wilderness, the bears, okay, the hot springs as well, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars for the US economy every year from protecting this big piece of wilderness. Now, think of the jobs that creates, think of the prosperity that creates, and also the sustainability that creates. Because if you have people coming in and experiencing the beauty of the mountains and the forest, mountain biking, hiking, paragliding, climbing, picnicking responsibly and taking their trash home with them, which is another reason I'm here right now, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Then you have this wonderful park, this great national park, which will continue to earn an income for your children, and maybe my children, who knows, and my children's children, and you know, and onwards like this. You see, so it safeguards it for future. Whereas if you come in and you just cut down trees that have taken 400 years to grow, then you're going to have to wait another 400 years for them to regrow, and in the meantime, what are you going to have to plant? Pine, and then you get to the same situation we've got in Scotland, and you lose the biodiversity, you lose the large carnivores, and you lose the thing that makes this country so special.
We are having here, by nature, by the forest that we are having, a real richness here, and we don't know this, because we don't know to protect these areas, we don't know to promote them in
I think the thing is, because Romania's been very closed for many generations. People hadn't had the opportunity to go out and see other countries. Exactly. So you don't really often realize the value of what you have on your doorstep until you see other places and you get objective and are able to look back at it from a distance and realize. Because yes, there's thousands of square miles of beautiful forest here. And I can understand why people think, oh, well, okay, well, we'll just take this. But if everyone thinks, okay, well, we'll just take this and we'll take this, we'll take this, you get the situation that's happening now, where in a generation or so, there will be nothing left. And it's immensely precious because there's nowhere else left like it.
Exactly.
And it's not just the forest, it's also the medieval landscapes, it's also the villages in the Maramuresh, around Bukovina, around here in Transylvania. You know, it's these stunning ancient villages which are in some cases protected, like Viskri, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But even though it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, there are now still plans underway which are being contested fiercely, but there are plans underway to build a big hotel, modern hotel, on the hill right next to a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which should be utterly illegal to do.
Exactly.
And it totally destroys the cultural integrity of the landscape, and it's horrendous. And you can see this in places where already there have been large concrete hotels built that have no relationship with the landscape in which they're in. Now, if you do that enough, what happens is the tourists just think this is ugly. They can no longer see the beautiful isolated medieval buildings and the villages and the streets because it gets swamped by modern insensitive development. I'm not saying that we shouldn't develop, because obviously everyone deserves a good standard of living, and they deserve to modernize and have a nicer house, and they, as I've said before, need satellite TV or underfloor heating or whatever they need, you know, because everyone has their needs.
Exactly.
But you have to develop sensitively. There should be planning restrictions like there are in the UK. I come from an ancient village. My house is over 500 years old. It's nearly 600 years old. And I tried to extend it because my bathroom was just a shed tacked onto the side of the house. So it was freezing in the winter, and Britain is very cold. It's a different kind of cold than you have here. Here you have a dry cold. It's proper weather. You have a proper winter and you have a proper summer, and it's great. And the autumn, as you see with these trees, as we know, is just unparalleled. It's so beautiful. But you know, in winter, round about November, this damp cold creeps into your bones and stays there till about April. So anyway, so I wanted to extend my cottage and have it, you know, insulated, and I had very strict planning laws, and the only way I was allowed to do this is if I did it exactly in the same style, and take the thatch across the roof and make it, should we say, sympathetic with the surrounding village. And so the village is still very beautiful, and it was recently voted the second prettiest village in the south of England, my village, because we all went around, we picked up the litter. Okay, so we carry the litter and we take it back. We don't just drop, you know, there's two things here. There's dropping litter, which is absolutely unforgivable, but then also walking past loads of litter and leaving it there. You know, level one is take your own rubbish home with you. Level two is actually, if you see a Coke can when you're on a nice walk through a national park, stick it in your backpack and put it in the bin on the way out. You know, set an example.
Yes.
So this is why, you know, my village is very beautiful, and the property prices there as well are extremely high, because there aren't so many places like that. But Romania still has a lot of villages like that. It has fantastic culture, and I think that for tourism and for the future prosperity of the people living in the countryside, the best way to ensure this is to continue to protect it and to do a better job of it.
I read about you that you are having knowledges about theology, about Buddhism, about some religions, about philosophy. So I must ask you, did you feel some special energy in our mountains? Because I don't know if you know, they are told that in Buceci, for example, the Sphinx is a special place, it's a portal energy. How true is this?
Well, I keep coming back here. For some reason, and I am very sensitive to energies. I think actually we all are, if we stop and, you know, open ourselves. Exactly. It's when we're shut down and when we're being greedy and we're just trying to help ourselves and we're not actually being empathic, because life's about empathy. It's about caring about other people, treat others as you would like to be treated, put yourself in other people's points of view, empathize, and be open. And if you're open and kind and thoughtful and not just trying to help yourself the whole time, then I think one becomes sensitive to these energies and you feel them. Exactly. And definitely here it's very strong indeed.
So we could say about nature that it's a perfect doctor for our soul?
I would say nature is absolutely, it inspires you, it makes you realize your own role, because it's not just all about us human beings.
Exactly.
You know,
the human
beings are the problem. They have been for a very long time, and it's becoming worse now. You know, what we need to do is realize that every living creature deserves as much to live as we do. And why should we march in and take away their habitats and stamp them out and render species extinct, like the tiger or the lynx or whatever? There's so many endangered species now, and we need to learn to live in harmony with the landscape in a way that is benefiting both us and the natural world around us.
Yes. We know that the Romanian people, this is true, are not very good viewed in other countries, you know, the Romanian people from here. What do you say now when you are come back in your country about us, about our tradition, about our world, let's say like that?
Well, when anyone asks me, I say, first of all, see my films, you know, yes, because it's all there. We need to make Wild Carpathia 4, but then hopefully a lot of it will be there. I also say that the Romanian people are some of the warmest and kindest and most thoughtful people I've met, and I've traveled the world a lot. And I feel here, not just because I'm here with a camera crew, or some people might know who I am, but even you just coming here as a stranger, people have always welcomed me with open arms and been amazingly hospitable and invite you into their houses and cook meals for you, you know, and it's beautiful. And of course, as things modernize, that changes a little bit, and as there are more people, you know, people are a bit more guarded, and we start watching news reports and get frightened by what we see in the media. But actually, this way of being that's natural to the Romanian people is a truly lovely thing, and I think the people here are fantastic. I also think it's an exciting place to be, because as it's come out of the Cold War era and people are waking up to what they can do, waking up to the fact that they have amazing resources, not resources to be exploited but to be celebrated and benefited from. And you know, the art scene, the music scene here, you know, there's cool places in, you know, everywhere from Cluj to Brasov to you know, back down to Bucharest, wherever. All the towns. I mean, I can name them all. I'm now feeling I'm leaving too many out. You know, Timișoara, Sibiu. You know, it goes on. It goes on. But the art scene here, the creative scene, is burgeoning. It's extraordinary. It's a great feeling of excitement, I think, creatively. People are sort of thinking, oh well, we don't have to just do this. We can do something different. And I'm seeing more and more cool places opening up. I'm seeing Romanian cuisine coming into its own.
I will ask you about this too.
Yeah, because
what do you like more to eat here?
Well, I quite like the sort of fusion. I like the chorbas. I like the soups.
Everybody
you know,
likes chorbas.
Yeah, no, I particularly when it gets cold. There's nothing like a big hot bowl of soup.
Yes.
You know, the ingredients that you have here, the wonderful organic ingredients. You are lucky, but then there's another problem that big companies, American or Chinese or whoever, are coming in and they're buying up pig farms or chicken farms, and they're mass producing meat injected with steroids or antibiotics, fed on GM food or whatever you like, and fast reared to 1.5 times the speed that a local person in the village can raise a pig and sell to the market. So they can afford to sell it to the supermarkets much cheaper. So we go to the supermarkets here and we see really cheap pork, we see really cheap chicken, and of course, you know, people here are poor. Exactly. You know, they don't have the choice. They're right. Okay, I've got this much to spend on my food allowance for the family for this week. Exactly. So what are you going to do? So, you know, this is a big problem, because they're also filling their bodies with rubbish, you know, and all kinds of things. And we're seeing this, and it's bad for the landscape, it's bad for the local people, for their income, because these big foreign companies coming in are taking most of that money away with them, and they're profiting from it, but it's not going to benefit the Romanian people. So actually, if we focus more on organic farming and keeping these wonderful small holdings and find ways to subsidize the farmers, farmers and encourage them and set up more farmers markets, organic food doesn't have to be more expensive. There are ways we can bring it to supermarkets. It doesn't have to look perfect. You know, when you're at a supermarket, people polishing the apple so you can see your reflection in it. And everyone goes, "Oh, that's a nice apple," because it looks good. You know, it's probably far worse for you than one that was picked by the local farmer in his orchard, organically grown and brought to the local farmers market.
The people from here said that where the worms are coming in the fruit or in the legumes, that it's good, because if they are eating,
if there's a worm wanting to eat it, then it's probably going to be good enough for me. Yeah, precisely. So where you don't find any imperfections and nothing's tried to have a chomp. I take this attitude. I pick wild mushrooms, and this is a nice time to be doing it. And although it's not always true, and I very much hasten to add this, but if something like a rabbit or whatever has chewed the outside of the mushroom, it's less likely to be one that's deadly poisonous. It may still be poisonous because animals have different metabolisms, but you know, it's reassuring. And when I do identify the right species, and even if it's got a few maggots in it, it's like, well, they've eaten the mushroom, so they're just going to taste of the mushroom anyway. So it's fine. What's the problem?
Doamnelor și domnilor, continuăm discuția noastră după o foarte scurtă pauză de publicitate.